Welcome back in, y'all. We are Black Girls Talking TV, where we bring the group chat to life and discuss all your favorite TV shows. Today is all about Survivor, and so if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can stay tuned to all of our recaps. I am Victoria. I am a psychologist in New York and Illinois.
And I'm Kamaria. I am an attorney in the DC area and a pop culture writer. Let's get into it.
Let's get into it, child. Let's start out with the David vote.
You don't sound excited enough for.
Oh, honey, I'm excited. I'm
I'm like, must have been a
containing
long day.
myself. It has been a long
Oh,
day,
you're
but I
containing
am
yourself.
containing
Okay.
myself. When it was 3-3, when it was three on
Mm,
Mitch and three on David, I
uh,
literally was so scared. I was like, oh my God, all these conversations, and y'all
yeah.
still went with Mitch. But then when he said
Yeah.
David, I said, oh, the third person on the jury. The tribe has
Yeah.
spoken. I said,
I was
hell
like,
yeah.
it was a lot though. It was a lot though. I will say that. Like I know because he seemed like he was like spiraling a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I almost feel like it was like the food and the not like not eating, and it just was a lot. He just seemed to be putting like a lot of pressure on himself. And so I know that was like a low moment for him. So I did actually feel for him a little bit in that in that exchange, but I was glad. I was like, I feel for you, but I also this is necessary. It needs to happen. But I don't think it was the best move for Eva and Joe, personally. I feel like while Camilla and Kyle are not like they weren't the biggest threats to their game as much. Um, because I think everybody's like kind of like an equal threat to them, to be honest.
Hmm.
I don't think breaking up that group was a good idea because you leave more people on the other side. Like for them, for
Yeah,
for
yeah,
for
yeah, for the
Joe,
strong, yeah.
yeah, I think that they needed to keep going with their lines, especially because everybody was good with them. Just like Eva was saying. And I guess more so I'm speaking on Eva. Like, I think it wasn't a good move for her specifically because
Hmm.
she was good with everybody. And so I wouldn't have done that if I was her.
Yeah.
But
But we talked about that
um
before, right? Where if Joe says yes, Eva's gonna jump ship and get on
mhm,
board with
mhm,
it. I
mhm,
think just the fact that Joe had his own suspicions after
mhm,
that encounter, that little encounter he had with David, Eva,
mhm,
it was kind of like, well, I have no other choice because Joe is my number one. And so
mhm,
if that wouldn't have happened, I feel like then maybe it wouldn't have been the best move.
mhm, mhm.
But yeah, I was doing a little happy dance, and I didn't feel bad for that man at all.
I shouldn't feel bad. I shouldn't, but I did. I just did. I just did. But just not a little bit. Like a healthy amount. I feel like it was a little healthy amount, but I also feel like at the end of the day, he was spiraling a little bit. And so I had a little empathy for that
Yeah,
piece of it, that he was just really not probably in the best headspace. And, there was a lot going on because like Joe was saying, he did kind of shift in those last couple days, and I think that that's just the weight of the game on him a little
yeah,
bit. But it wasn't, earth shattering at all. Like, you know what I mean? I've seen some exits that have
yeah,
felt earth shattering, but like not that one,
yeah. But I
not
do
that
feel
one.
you
When they
though.
got three out,
Yeah,
that
right,
time for
right.
on the rock, I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
that was earth shattering. But like this
yeah.
is like you'll be all right. But I feel for you.
Yeah, yeah. I do feel you though on potentially Eva. She probably needed to take a little step back and think about her own game and not necessarily like
Mhm,
doing everything with
mhm.
Joe. Because again, only one
Yeah,
of you guys can win at the end of the day. And the likelihood
yeah.
that you both will be sitting in the top three is very slim, depending on
I
what
don't
the
even think
power
it's very
dynamics.
slim, but yeah, but I think I hear you. I think they're a target for sure, but
Yeah,
I think that they could both make it
yeah. I
because these
think they
people are
could too.
crazy. They shouldn't still be here.
Yeah.
They shouldn't still be here. They shouldn't. They should have been gone.
Yeah, no, for real. And now Eva got more power, please. Uh she dang near got two
And to be
idols in her
honest,
pocket.
right? And I now that she because who did she tell? Did she tell Kyle? Was he part of the people she
Yep.
told?
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm like, Kyle's gonna tell Camilla. I mean, I feel like Kyle's gonna tell Camilla, and I feel like she's gonna tell him, buddy, what up? He already told her, right?
Yeah, he already told her. As soon as he found
Okay,
out,
yeah,
he went
I'm
and
just
told her.
getting
Yeah.
lack of sleep. I'm
Yeah.
forgetting.
But they don't know.
But
Eva and Joe, they do not know
oh
how
yeah,
tight
they missing that all the
yeah,
way.
they're
That's the
missing
only
it
thing David
all
was
the
talking about.
way, right? And so to Eva and Joe, they're probably like, well, I have Shaheen and I have Kyle, so getting rid of David, like inside the game,
Yeah.
probably didn't feel like a bad game move. Outside looking in, we're like, maybe that wasn't the best, but they don't understand that Kyle literally has his armed forces in Camilla. So
Yeah, but I still don't think that it was a good move in that regard because I feel like if you believe in this six, right? I still don't know how I got to be a six from a five to a
yeah,
six,
I
but
can't even
whatever.
call it the six. Can we please call it the five? Because the six to me is a joke. Like, let's.
I mean, they treating it like it's real. No one's calling Mary on Mary being in the alliance. I don't
It's
understand it.
crazy
I
to
don't
me.
understand it. I like Mary, but
Yeah,
I don't know. But I feel like you can't leave so many people out there, like outside of the six. Like you have to chip away at them because the only way they can do something is if they do something with the people outside or and they're on two opposite ends of the camp. Like Kyle and Shaheen are over here and David and Mary are over here. So you're
yeah,
in the middle. They're going to try to take you either direction once the internal fight happens. But if you leave people on the outside for them to scoop up, then may not need to like they could do something without you. Like cuz that's what I guess Kyle's plan is and
yeah.
Shaheen may be along for the ride. The one thing I thought about when Kyle was kind of starting to get a little more vocal about David, I felt like I wonder why David didn't start saying how Kyle told him that Shaheen was. Remember, he was trying to get Shaheen out, and he told him Shaheen was not
He was
was. He said
sneaky.
something.
Yeah,
Yes. And I'm like, when is this going to regurgitate back into the conversation to try to, if you think Kyle and Shaheen are working with Camilla, when you going to regurgitate that into the conversation so that Shaheen becomes a little distrustful of him and you could start like, just do something with that information.
yeah,
He just like forgot it maybe. I don't know. But I would have loved to see him do something with that. Well, not love to. I was afraid, but I would have
yeah.
expected him. That's a better term. I would have expected him to do something with that. But I was afraid the whole time, like, oh, is he gonna say it? Is he gonna say it? So I'm glad that he didn't, but I it was
Yeah,
just
I think he was smart to pick up on the fact that Kyle and Camilla have something going on, but he
mhm,
was not smart enough to use his words wisely. And so
mhm,
I'm not surprised that he didn't bring it up because he was so fixated on this idea
yeah.
of why was last night not an easy vote. And because he did
Mhm,
that, he got in his head and he like conjured up all of these theories and he was no longer
mhm,
playing the game. He was checked out because
mhm.
he was too stuck in this need for power, in my opinion.
I do feel like he was still playing. I think it just made him so paranoid. And he's like, because they talked themselves out of voting for Camilla. If they had stayed on that train, I think that we would have had a little bit more to sweat about in the episode. Because, like, in the beginning, I was all like, oh my God, they're on this Camilla train. And I thought they weren't going to get off. And so, but it was his paranoia and him and Mary that was causing them to veer from that plan. And I get it, but I feel like they were still playing. I don't feel like he was laying down. I just felt like they were playing
Wrong.
for with nervous energy, with nervous
Yeah,
energy,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
caused them to make a misstep on a right read.
yeah.
But um,
But even if it was a right read, I just feel like it was something that he should have just let go. And that's why I say, like, he wasn't,
mm,
not necessarily not playing, but he wasn't playing smart anymore at that point. Like, you're focused on
no,
the
I get
wrong
what you're
things.
saying.
At the end of the day, someone else is gone that can't come for our alliance, point blank, period,
Mhm,
if this is what you're all
mhm,
about. And instead of that, he's so
mhm,
focused on, well, why wasn't it an easy vote? And so that's what I mean by he was
mhm.
just checked out. And then
Yeah,
Mary over here with this
we're
pick me ass
distracted.
energy. Yeah, distracted.
Oh, it's
Hell, I said,
when you
Mary,
did text me that. I was like, what? I said, who is Mary? I
Mary
didn't know
said,
what she was. I thought she was talking
you're
about.
more than just what did she say? You're more than just a shield. I said, girl.
Yeah, no, the Kyle was talking about. He said it. What did he say? He said it looked like it was. I don't know. I don't know. Do David still got a girlfriend at home? I don't know. Like, let us know, David. But is Mary and him hanging? I don't know. I wouldn't be mad at it because they
I
seem
wouldn't
like they have
either.
good energy. I wouldn't be mad at it.
Yeah,
He says, you know, whatever was going on with his girlfriend. I don't know. I wouldn't be
yeah.
mad at it, but also,
Yeah, it just I don't think that I feel like Mary is too smart to be playing the game that she is playing. She's
well,
not
I mean,
focused on, and this is the same thing that Eva is doing. Mary and Eva, in my opinion, were not focused on making other relationships. Even though Mary
yeah.
is in the strong six or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Like, you are at the very bottom because you're not considered a strong player. You're
And
just the
they
smart
gon'
player that David didn't want at the end. But you're here at the
that David
very,
didn't want to do.
yeah, David, he was like, all the strategic players, all the smart players, all the puzzle people, they
Oh,
can
oh,
go.
okay.
But you're bringing in
Yeah,
Mary into the alliance. Makes
yeah,
no sense.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
so, Mary, I'm like, you need to be working the crowd. Same thing with Eva. Eva, you realize you're in the middle of this, and yet you are still just, I'm all about my boys. Meanwhile, all these
Mhm,
other dynamics are still going on. And so I think that's going to be the
mhm.
detriment to both of their games, if there is one,
Oh, yeah.
for sure. Y'all can't be all
Yeah,
about each other.
yeah, no, I can see that for sure, that similarity between their games. And but I will say that like Mary seems to just like she plays like that because even on the tribe with Say and them, she was just kind of with the girl with the flower hat making stuff. She's like, I just vibe with who I vibe with, and that was just her person. So it caused her to be on the bottom there,
Yeah.
over and over. And she wasn't out here trying to make new relationships with them. I think she's just like more of an authentic, I vibe with who I vibe with, and I don't vibe with who I don't vibe with. Maybe like Say, but in a different, you know, sort of energy, a different font, as the people say.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's some of what it is. But I do see what you're pointing out, like for sure, for sure. But I think that Mary's just gonna like she's just gonna use her cunning and like now I think she used David as she needed to. And I think she is going to recalibrate. And I'd like to actually see Mary at this point
Yeah.
unleashed a little bit. I think she'll be a very good I don't know. I wonder what she's gonna if she's gonna be still stay in this five, now four plus her, or if she's gonna try to gather numbers. I feel like she's gonna do a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But one thing I will say, they kept talking about Camilla. Two things I'll say. One about Mary, one about Camilla. One, they kept talking about Camilla, but Mary really has a very good way with words. And in tribal, she said something in tribal that I felt like, oh yeah, she said about like, what if you go for someone who's not going for you? You know what I
Right.
mean? And I think that like in that vein, if I was someone, that would kind of make me think, twice a little bit. And so I was thinking to myself, I was like, she's someone who the way she talked about Say being at tribal, she's at tribal. She's someone
Yeah.
like who plays those mind games. She did it with Say, and she knows how to just like say what needs to be said. Now it didn't work this time, but um I think something like that does have the power to work in the future. And then the second thing I was about
Hmm.
to say, flipping on Camilla, is that I have not really seen much of Camilla's strategy lately. For like the past 3, 4 episodes, not 3, 4, but like 2, 3 episodes, like I see Kyle moving, and I'm like, oh, he's tagging our girl Camilla in. But then when they tag her in, I don't see any discussion. So I don't know if the strategy on her end is still vibrant or if they're just cutting out those conversations right now for time. But I don't see. So like even like when he brought the information to her, and then he was like he vocalized it like she's the strategist, I'm the information getter. And I think that that's been our read on it, but they're not showing us her strategy. And
Yeah.
so I wonder, it makes me feel like, is she not going to be a winner person? Is this not a winner's edit? Even though Jeff said there's no winner's edit. But like, I think there is. There's an edit that makes the story make sense so you can kind of believe in the winner a little bit. And so I think that we had a beginning story for her, but right now it's kind of like they're not showing us her strategy. And so it's kind of falling a little flat to me. And it feels like it's Kyle, who is carrying this alliance,
Well, I feel like the alliance is like the story right now. First, the story
Yeah.
was this whole say, marry Cedric thing on the Green
Mm-hmm.
Tribe. Then we moved to Eva and, her and these social dynamics and all these things. And now
Mm-hmm.
it's like the strong alliance, and that's the story that we
Mm-hmm.
see unfolding. I mean, we have another episode where we see Star for 2.5 seconds. We
No.
barely saw Mitch. Like, I'm like, there are other
Yeah.
people on the tribe, and yet we're barely.
Mhm.
I'm like, we get to see y'all giving a swim lesson. Like, what about the strategic conversations? Like, we're
Yeah.
only seeing them with the people in this alliance right now, and so I
Mhm.
would doubt that Camilla, especially as like strong as she did like coming out the gate, that she's
Mhm.
not showing up in strategic conversations with Kyle. But it looks
Mhm.
like next week it's gonna be some
I
ramp
didn't see the
up with.
preview.
Okay, yeah. So it looks like next week there's gonna be some ramp up with the underdogs in terms of flipping this
Mm.
game a little bit, and so hopefully other people start to
Mm.
rise to the forefront and we see
Mm.
more. But right now it
Mhm.
literally is the Strong People Alliance show.
Mhm.
Like that is what we're seeing.
Yeah, but I guess the reason why I still feel how I feel about this Camila strategy, like where is it, is that like it is their show, but it's like this is a very strong like counter, like this is their
Yeah.
villain basically, or from not the villain, but their and what is it antagonist? Is that
Yeah.
what is the word antecedent?
Oh,
I
oh,
think
oh, oh, oh.
antecedent is a grammar
Yeah,
term.
yeah, yeah. Wait, I know exactly what you're
She
talking
might
about,
keep
but
it
I can't.
in, but what is, but she is their antithesis. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Antithesis. She's their antithesis. Like
I'm
I can't be
sorry.
out here. I can't be out here. I'm educated. I can't be out here. But I might let you keep it in. I might let you keep it in.
It's
But
only.
yeah, she is the antithesis to their,
Mm,
their alliance. And so it's like I feel like that's a relevant piece of their story. Even like I agree with you 100% that they're the forefront, but I feel like
mm,
this little side thing that's brewing is, or not brewing, has brewed, is that exists, is a good piece of this overall big alliance's story, because they have this arch nemesis and stuff
mm-hmm.
that they don't even know is their enemy. But I don't know, it could, like you said, it could be just that they felt that wasn't as much of a valuable edit as this story that they're trying to tell with the
Yeah.
five, and got a little side story with David and Kyle, and maybe that's enough side story for them as opposed to adding
Mm-hmm.
in some Camilla stuff.
Yeah. Well, should we get into this whole side story with Kyle and his talk that he had with
Oh, and
Joe?
David Joe. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can
Yeah,
chat about it a
yeah.
little bit. Um,
What did you think?
I was surprised. I will say that. Like, I was very surprised. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, this is a unexpected backstory. And then I saw his Instagram post. I think it was today, just talking about everything. And I was like, oh, this is great. It was, I commented on our behalf.
Yes.
I think I said thanks for sharing the story, but I think it's much needed. Like that sort of candid talk about, like, racial profiling and different things like that, because he is very right. You can't
Yeah.
always do the same, and you can get different treatment. And it's, I have a father, I have brothers, they have stories, and it's,
Yeah.
it's not okay, and it's not cool. And sometimes people don't acknowledge that it exists. But I also didn't expect him to be like a little rambunctious, teen. And even like in law school, I was like, you know, Kyle. That's when you're supposed to be moving and getting your life together. He was still trying to like, but you could tell he's like a smart, intelligent guy. But it's like maybe the maturity wasn't there yet at that time,
Mhm.
even though he was moving forward into like this professional career space. His maturity still had to catch up. So
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if it was the people he was around. I mean, I'm sure it was the people he was around, right? Like, if you're getting in trouble with them and you think you can get away with it because you're with them. Sometimes that does happen. And then you meet the law and you realize that you can't. It's a different story. But what I thought
mm,
was interesting about the conversation was I was just wondering, like, what parts were edited out because
mm,
it seemed like his point in bringing it up was the fact that he was triggered. And, like, what
mm,
about this dynamic with David was triggering? And then if you talk about being a black
mm,
person in the criminal justice system,
mm,
right? And like what that looks like and what aggression looks like and how you're talked to. I worked
mm,
in a prison before and I've seen guards that aren't very nice and there is differential treatment based on race and things like that. And
mm.
so I was wondering what parts were missed out because Joe said,
Yeah.
we got the same blood. Like, I get it in so many words.
Mm,
And so I was wondering if it was
mm,
something that he specifically touched on, or if he just kind
mm.
of went a very politically correct as a
Yeah.
lawyer, right? Way to make sure he didn't say too
Uh,
much. But
yeah.
as soon as he said, I'm triggered, and then he said, I'm a
Mm,
little jailbird. I said, yeah, I bet, because
mm,
David was coming on strong and he was aggressive.
mm,
Um,
mm.
and he was also
Yeah,
aggressive
'cause
towards Joe. So
yeah, 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 yeah. I have no clue what they edited out, but what you just said makes so much sense, makes so much sense that's kind of the missing pieces of that story because it did feel like it jumped a little bit in how he was telling it. And
yeah,
so that makes a lot of sense that it could have been that was where that was what caused him to bring up the conversation and just say
hmm
like that's triggering, like when I see that sort of um aggression
right,
from
right,
be a white
yeah,
male,
yeah.
and so
Yeah, and I know
yeah,
you had
but
even mentioned, like you didn't feel like he did enough in that conversation, or like he was kind of showing his hand because he was a little flustered. And so it
you
would,
talking about Kyle in the previous
yeah, in the
episode.
previous
Oh,
episode. So I was
I
like,
was
it
like,
would
"What
make,
you say, girl?" I was like, I thought you were talking about the episode just now with
yeah,
Joe
no, no,
in
no,
that
no,
conversation.
yeah, no. So I was like, it would make
Um,
sense, right, that he was having a hard time with
mhm,
like expressing himself and like still trying to
mhm,
maintain a very calm demeanor
mhm,
through that
mhm.
conversation.
Yeah, and he said something, he was like, "I don't like confrontation,"
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah, when he said that, I think he said it in this episode, I was like, "Yeah, no, it's giving you don't like confrontation, that's
yeah.
for sure." He also seems like a happy-go-lucky sort of guy, like, he seems like somebody who, gets along with a lot of people and don't really have a lot of conflict. He just seems
hmm
like I said, young Barack, he seems like a
Right, right,
young
right.
Barack.
Yeah.
But
Shout
yeah,
out to Kyle.
yeah. What else? What haven't we talked about? The
The
challenge.
challenge. Yes.
That was interesting. I was just not David, but oh yeah, but
Literally.
also all, the David of it all. It was a lot, you
It
know?
was,
And that's what
yeah.
I said.
He was down on
That was
himself in that moment too.
yeah. I
Yeah.
was like, this is a whole lot, As I was like, something else must be going on for him as a whole. But also when Joe didn't pick him at all, down the whole line of people, I did think that Mitch was gonna be was good to be the first person, right?
Yeah.
And the second person, who was the second person? I know Eva was the last, but the second
Um,
person,
why can't I even
Shaheen,
remember?
Shaheen,
Yeah,
Shaheen,
yeah, yeah. And then
Shaheen.
it was
And then
Eva.
Eva, yeah. But when he ain't pick him at all, I was like, okay, that's telling a little bit
Yeah.
because something about this is feeling a little interesting because I would think that if he was still in with him and he was feeling like that's you part of the team, he could tell it affected him so much. And so
Yeah.
since he didn't pick him, that's when I knew. I was like, I mean, I didn't know. I didn't know. I still, because Joe's sometimes hard, not hard to read, but just he seems to be trying to play the middle. I can do either ways too much, and so I don't know what to expect or where it will land with him sometimes. But that was a little bit like, okay, it seems kind of
Yeah.
like
Well,
he
when
might be.
when Joe, I mean, when they were in the challenge and it was down to them too, David said,
Mhm.
"Don't worry, Joe. Like no matter what, I'm gonna pick you for the reward." So I felt like at that point, like you kind of just lose your chances of being picked because it's just wrong. I feel like it was one of those like not the right place for that type of statement.
I
Now if it
agree.
was like a, we're battling it out. I love to see us up here. Like definitely gonna make sure we can enjoy the reward together for fighting this through. It would be one thing,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like the way it was said after already the
It's just,
context of
yeah,
the game and like these different conversations that had been had that
yeah,
day and the night before, it was kind of like, bro,
yeah.
no. And
He
it
just
wouldn't have
was
looked
trying to
good
get
to the rest of the tribe for Joe, in my opinion, to pick David after saying that.
Well, I mean, I think he could have picked him instead of Eva at the end, like if he was not upset at him. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
excuse me, if he was not like, if they, that's all I was saying, because it's like everybody could tell he was having a moment. But maybe I'd be too forgiving for people. But I didn't think like I wasn't sad for him not being picked. I just was like, oh, this is telling.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very telling that he's not picking you. He has three choices and he didn't pick you. You know what I mean? Something ain't right.
Yeah.
I'm like, I know David had to feel that, but I didn't get. I expected to get a confessional about it, but they
Oh,
didn't. And
right,
so
right, right.
maybe he was just too angry. He probably was like, fuck
Yeah.
him. Like he probably was in there just, we can't use this. We can't use none of this
Yeah,
footage.
but I mean I
'Cause
mean it
he's
could
so
be read so
sensitive.
many ways. It was also just like a little like, and I don't know. I might be biased because I'm not a fan of
No, I
David,
agree. It was
but it could have also, I feel like it could have just been read in that moment as feeling just a little entitled, and it was very much so like,
yes,
I got this in the bag, like you're about to drop, I already know. And
yes.
in
I
that
saw
moment,
it.
right, like soon after that, that's when he dropped because he
Mm-hmm,
just knew he had it. Like it was just too much
mm-hmm,
confidence in that moment.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was like, nah.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of like the challenge, like Star be dropping early. Do you think she's like throwing these challenges or what? Because in the beginning, she was very like a strong contender in these challenges, and I feel like is she just trying to lay low because her lay low method has been working. Nobody's
Yeah.
been coming for her. But she has been just like first or second or third out on these challenges, and I'm like, I expect her to be, was she first out of this one?
She was first out of this one. She was first out of the other one, the grip
Yeah,
one.
like, is she throwing it?
I
Like,
think she's
or what?
throwing though.
Yeah, because I'm like,
I think
she's
so.
she has a lot of athleticism.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I
I
think
get
she's
surprised. I
laying
mean,
low.
I mean that's
Yeah.
smart. I think it's been working for her because we keep wondering like what's happening? How did
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
just keep moving forward. So
I
who
did see a
knows?
deleted scene where she went around. Well, it only showed in the scene that she went to Shaheen and she went to Joe and asked them, "Who
Mhm.
do you see in your top three?" Um, and so I
Mm.
don't know if that is why she ended up voting with David
David and Mary.
and Mary. But yeah, she
Mhm.
said, "Who do you see in your top three?" And she was like, it was a test, and ain't nobody mentioning my name. So that's cool. You don't see me, so now I gotta, you know what I'm saying, start figuring some stuff out. So, um,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Interesting,
Yeah.
interesting, yeah. Want to talk about Eva's, journey? Like,
Yes.
what was your thoughts on that? And do you
Child, when
think
I
she made
saw
the
that
right choice?
head poke up after Eva left, I just knew because of the cone shape. I was like, "Oh my god, is it Camilla?" Because if it is Camilla, like this is great. Like, yes,
Oh.
Camilla, go follow her. But it was Shaheen. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought she played it well. A 2-in-1 chance to see if you could get a little bit more
Mhm,
power. Why not? Um,
mhm.
I I am not like rooting. I want Eva to do well. I think she's a good person.
Mhm.
But I just
Mhm.
have people in front of her that I'm rooting for, so I didn't want her to
Yeah.
have it, you know? Like,
Yeah, no, for sure. And I was like, I was a little concerned about the extra vote. Like, I feel like for her sake, I think that safety without power is great. So I think that she made a good choice and made a good choice to pause and not go again.
yeah,
Like that was a good choice. Um, but I was actually a little more concerned about the extra vote
yeah,
personally because I was like, that extra vote is like she can throw some things off with that if these
yes,
numbers so low. So I didn't want her to do it. So I was glad that she did, go a little bit further. But I also actually no, you know what? Take that back. I'm sorry. I don't think that she should have gone for the safety without power because she's already got this idol, and I think. I mean, well, I guess she could have. I don't know. I'm about to say I think it's going to mess up her allies game whenever she leaves because her vote's not going to be there.
account, yeah,
And but the only thing is that she has the other idol, and so she just would have to burn both at the same time. Be like, here, Joe, I'm leaving. Y'all do what y'all do. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, and he's really her only ally, for real, for real. I know
yeah,
she'd be like
yeah,
saying everything for everybody else, but especially as we get further down, he's really her only ally. But um, it was something. Oh yeah, Shaheen. That's what I'm gonna say. Shaheen waking up Joe. First of all, I'm like, I just knew that was Kyle when that he was waking up. I just knew. I was like, Shaheen. He know who to clue in.
right,
Why
right,
you waking up her left arm, her right arm? Like, why are you waking up her other half to tell on her? Like, what is going on here? You know what I'm saying? Like, he like
yes,
like, where's the read on that? Like, Joe and Eva are here. Joe will lose the game
terrible
to Eva. I think
read,
that's where he is with
yes,
it. He will put Eva in front of him and lose the game to protect her and
yes,
to keep
yes,
her there. He will do that. So
yes.
I don't understand how the read of that was so off. You know what I'm saying? Because
I
not only do
didn't
you let Joe
either.
know that you have maybe a mistrust of Eva, but you also like are going nowhere with this. This is like pointless because Joe's not going to do anything to like
Right.
thwart Eva's plans. You need to go get Kyle. So
Kyle.
I just was so confused by
Yes.
that. That was
Yes.
confusing to me.
Yes. Yeah, terrible read. I literally was thinking like out of all people you tell Joe. Like, I don't know. It didn't make any sense to me. I was like, maybe he got sleepy brain because he's just waking up and he's just in the shock
Right.
factor that she's sneaking away from camp. But it did not register in my mind for 1 second. Like, I could not put the pieces together as to why he would tell Joe of
Wake
all
up.
people. But I was happy that she still got up the next morning and told everyone. That
Yeah.
way, it just all fires that could have been lit from that are now,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, they're put out.
Out. Yeah.
And the people that I want to know the information knows. Camilla knows.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. But the only thing I will say, like for Camilla's crew, like they need Shaheen to be
yeah,
able to pull with it. Well, at least I think, because like, what are we at 8 now, or like,
yeah, we're at
where are we
8.
at?
We're at
Because we
8
have
now
the
that David is
5.
gone. It's
Okay, we have the 5, and then the other
mm-hmm.
3. Are the other 3 just Star, Mitch and Camilla
Yeah.
outside of the 5?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Anywho,
So
he's
now
gonna need
it's
Shaheen.
4 on 4.
That
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna need Shaheen on that for that. Unless Mary pulls over, like if Mary and Kyle both do this sort of pull over onto the other group's side against against the 3 of them. But I feel like against Joe, Eva, and Shaheen. But I feel like if I were Camilla and Kyle, I would try to pull Shaheen. But anyway, I say all that to say that Eva seemed like she solidified more trust with Shaheen based on
Yeah.
his confessional after that. So that's why I was kind of like, that's not the best thing that happened out of this, but we'll see what happens because Shaheen's not a fool. I
Yeah.
think he recognizes that they're gonna be stronger players. Have stronger prospects of winning if he keeps them. And so I think he's going to be willing to turn on them at some point, but I just don't know when.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that, well, not I'm hoping, but for Camilla and Kyle's longevity, I think unless Mary switches over with them, they got to get her next. They got to get her next. But I wouldn't even trust Mary, to be honest. If she, even if
Yeah, I
she was
wouldn't
like, I'm
either.
coming on, I wouldn't trust her.
Yeah, because
But
she's
it's
so
that's
cool with Eva. So it'll definitely be interesting.
oh, yes, she
Yeah,
is. Forgot about. Yeah, so I
it's
guess
going to
she's
be
probably still
interesting.
gonna be in the crew.
Yeah,
I guess she's still gonna be in the crew, but she's not gonna trust Kyle, and so she's gonna be one foot in and one foot out.
yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that Eva
Yeah, yeah,
connection.
yeah, yeah. We gonna see. We
Mm.
gonna see. Well, is that all? I think that's it for this week of
Yeah, I think
Survivor.
that's it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Alrighty, so that is all. Again, we are Black Girls Talking TV. If you aren't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can stay tuned. And don't forget that we have a group chat. So if you would like to join that,
Mhm.
DM us at Black Girls Talking TV on Instagram and we will get you in there. Until next
Right.
week. Bye.
Bye.